It would be laughable if it weren't so serious. Yes, teams versus UCI. Pro cycling for a morning resembled the school playground this week. Thankfully, away from that, the Vuelta is on its way. Yes, it's sunny Spain for the final Grand Tour of the season, with a start in Italy. We'll explain that and tell you about this week's racing right here on the Gruppetto. Wout van Aert was among those returning to racing in Hamburg. Coming just 3 days before the national tour begins, the Cyclassics is one of the biggest races in Germany. But forget the star finishers on show. This one was all about the breakaway. Despite the best efforts of the main peloton, 3 riders remained coming into the final few hundred metres of the 207k race. Johan Jacobs and Nelson Oliveira couldn't follow Rory Townsend though when he launched his sprint early. The Irish champion knew where the line was and he propelled himself toward it as the bunch also launched their own lunges to the finish. But they couldn't cope with the 30-year-old from Q36.5. A dream day, a career highlight, a first ever World Tour win. Townsend taking the honours after 187 kilometres at the head of affairs. In the break earlier this season in both Flanders and Roubaix, this was the one he was able to make count. As well as rider, it also proved to be a groundbreaking day for the team, their first ever World Tour victory. To the Women's World Tour now, and to stage racing, where the Tour de Romandie Féminin was the big event of the week. The 3-day race around the French-speaking cantons of Switzerland began with an uphill time trial in Villars-sur-Olonne. There was controversy at the start that from the outside looked to be heading in the direction of farce. Before a single pedal was turned, 5 entire teams were disqualified. Lidl Trek, Picnic Postenel, Canyon SRAM Zonda Crypto, Visma Lisa Bike and EF Education Oatly all thrown out. The reason? A dispute over the testing of new GPS tracking devices by the UCI designed to improve safety. Now, the problem seemed to revolve around which rider in each team would have the new device and whether it would be the team or federation to choose the rider to take part. It was reported to weigh around just 63 grams, and with the Velon group talking in a statement about who had the right to mount a device on a competitor's bike or not, the waters were further muddied. Yes, the issue is probably much more nuanced than we're suggesting. There are likely to be genuine concerns from teams about who owns rider data. We're with you on that. But this isn't the issue. Playing around and fighting each other over safety? Come on. Both sides, for the good of the sport, get your act together, please. This feels like a hangover from a previous dispute, doesn't it? And safety really should be the one area where everyone is happy to try and improve things, regardless of who owns data or whatever. Also, could this not have been resolved behind closed doors, prior to the race itself? It's a poor look, and it makes it look like school children blaming each other in the playground, when the issue at hand is the most serious of any facing the sport. As someone who's had to try and find the words to report on various fatalities, I find it to be really poor taste. I dread to think what families of those who've lost their lives competing think of the situation and of those involved. It's an incomprehensible mess to the public eye, and nobody seems to come out of it well. The optics suggest a play on power and politics over an issue that really should be uniting teams, federations, and not seeing them compete against each other to decide whose measures are best. Let us know if you have a view on what happened. Post them in the comments below. And don't forget about the riders too. 5 teams worth of riders suddenly told after preparing for an event that they couldn't compete. A strange one, and it didn't make cycling look good at all. While the suits and tracksuits were arguing off the bike, Paula Blasi let her legs do the talking on it, becoming the first rider from Spain's Catalan region to win a UCI Women's World Tour race since the category was created, the best part of a decade ago. The climb to Las Sumas, almost 13 kilometres at over 8%, was the main uphill test of the race. Stage 2, and it was won by home favourite Elise Chabet. What a place for a Romand rider to win her first World Tour stage. Ushka Shigart moved into yellow and had an 8-second lead heading into the final stage. The Swiss Mountain Challenge ended with laps around Aigle, home to the sport's governing body, the UCI. The parcours consisted of rolling laps, and it was tense all the way, with a small group of leaders having a slight gap on the yellow jersey. Vingegaard desperately tried everything to close the gap, even pushing a little too much on one particular occasion. SD Works' Blanca Vache timed her finish to perfection to win the stage, while Chabet's presence in that winning group was just enough to flip the GC and claim the overall title on home soil. Earlier in the week, Chiara Consonni won 2 stages and the overall GC at the Tour of Poland. The Italian sprinter moved on to 21 career wins with just a second GC success. Uno X rider Linda Zanetti was the other stage winner. Men's Pro Series racing took place in Denmark, and kicking things off was Mads Pedersen. Who else? The Dane, a 2-time winner of his home tour overall, was aiming for a 3rd title, and he took a big step towards being able to achieve that by not only winning the stage, but doing so from a small group that finished with just over half a minute on the main bunch. After the peloton had been island hopping on the ferry, Søren Varensholt won the 2nd stage, a relatively short 105-kilometre burst around the outskirts of Copenhagen. Thursday was time trial day, a 14-kilometre test against the clock, with leader Mads Pedersen defending his jersey nicely. The victory on the day went to a rider who doesn't officially turn pro until the 1st of January next year. Racing for Lidl Trek's development team, Jakob Söderqvist, the Swedish TT champion, was 5 seconds quicker than his closest rival. So 3 days in, and a victory for each of the 3 Scandinavian nations. Denmark, Norway and Sweden all winning at the same bike race. Next up, the usual circuits around Weiler after a mammoth 227 kilometres.
Mads Pedersen is made of special stuff. Former world champion gets the distance. He's got the power in abundance at the end of 4 or 5 hours of racing, and he's now heading towards another stage victory and indeed extending his advantage on general classification. As Mads Pedersen takes glory on stage 4 of Tour of Denmark.
The final stage didn't disappoint either. Pedersen was on the attack again and again. His Lidl Trek outfit getting as many as 4 riders in the top 6 on the day. And of course it was Pedersen who took the stage and sealed the overall. There was a certain sense of déjà vu on the opening day of the Czech Tour, which, just as it was in 2024, was won by Luc Lamperti, the US rider taking his first victory of the season. Soudal-QuickStep doubled up through Junior Le Cerf, the young Belgian on hand to win on European roads for the first time since taking the Lombardy Under-23 title 2 years ago. This win gave him the race lead. 24-year-old Australian Liam Walsh won stage 3 before a dramatic finale that saw Kian Uijtdebroeks on the attack and looking for a second GC in as many weeks. But then this happened.
Uijtdebroeks now 200 metres to go. He's gotten away from the rest. He's opened up the gap. He needs 9 seconds on Junior Le Cerf, who's leading the rest in. The gap is closing. Le Cerf resurgent. He can see the race win just up the road. And Kian Uijtdebroeks now going with everything he's got. Le Cerf being passed. There'll be no bonuses for Le Cerf. This will be the difference. Uijtdebroeks will take the stage win. He'll take the 10-second bonus. Kian Uijtdebroeks at the top of the climb is being caught. He's being passed. Uijtdebroeks is blown. Uijtdebroeks will not win. Junior Le Cerf has done enough. He will win the Czech Tour.
Petr Yanis winning the stage and Le Cerf with a first ever senior overall prize.
The Vuelta A Espana begins in Italy this Saturday, the 23rd of August. Turin to Madrid is the route, with almost 3,200 kilometres ridden in Italian, French and Andorran territory. Finally, of course, there's a bit of Spain too. The opening day ends in Novara with a probable first, but in this Vuelta, rare opportunity for the fast finishers. Day 2 sees the first summit finish at Limone Piemonte, further down a climb once used by the Giro D'Italia. The third stage takes the peloton to Xeres with a shorter but certainly not sweeter 130-kilometre day. Hills are plenty before a chance for survivors to take each other on uphill towards the line. After that, it'll be time for us to reconvene on next week's show and run you through the rest of the opening week's challenges. All in all, it's mainly a tour of northern Spain this year. The south and yet again the islands were forgotten about, although we're reliably informed that next year that could change in rather spectacular fashion. But who will be in attendance? Jonas Vingegaard is the obvious headline name and pre-race favourite for GC victory. Almeida, Ayuso, Carapaz, Hindley, Jorgensen, Pellizzari, Tiberi, Gal, G, Ciccone and last year's long-time red jersey O'Connor are all going to be there. Plus Bernal, he's looking to add the Vuelta, the one Grand Tour missing from his trophy cabinet, to the Giro and Tour he's already won. Pidcock will be there for Q36.5. Also, young Max Poole, the other big Briton to watch out, confirmed already after a very solid Giro D'Italia. The instigator of chaos and entertainment in chief should be Pedersen, but there'll be plenty more like him looking to cause mischief. It promises to be an absolutely brilliant race. The transfers continue this week, and Italian champion Filippo Conca has returned to the pro scene with immediate effect. Jayco Alula have offered the former Q36.5 man a route back to the top tier, and he'll now show off his national jersey on the World Tour. Former Belgian national champ Dries de Bont will join him at the Aussie outfit at the end of the season, with Eddie Dunbar leaving. Alex Segaert is leaving Lotto and will race for Bahrain victorious for the next 3 seasons. The 22-year-old Belgian is already a World Tour stage winner. On the other side of Belgium, Soudal-QuickStep continue their quick sprint and classics reorganisation following Remco Evenepoel's departure. Alberto Dainese is signed to return to the World Tour, and look for that bit of shine fast men often get when representing the West Flemish super team. He'll be joined by Fabio van den Bossche, while the long-rumoured signing of climber Stef Kras has also been confirmed. Matteo has made sure we'll get a Milan derby at some point next season. Yes, Jonathan's little brother, also a fast finisher, has joined Groupama FDJ on his first full pro deal. Also moving to the French squad is Clément Berthet, who departs Decathlon Agir d'Azur. US rider Kevin Vermaak will swap his Picnic Postenel jersey for a UAE Emirates XRG outfit. And staying with the Emirati squad, but moving from the youth team to the senior ranks, 19-year-old Spaniard Adrián Pericas, a top 10 finisher at the Giro Next Gen this year. OK, enough from me for this week. One final reminder to join us for the Vuelta. It all begins on Saturday on TNT Sports and Discovery+. 1988 winner Sean Kelly will join me on commentary. Orla will be joined by Adam and Matt in the studio, with Robbie dialing in on the night shift from Australia. Before that, there's World Tour action from the Renewy Tour in the Benelux region, plus the Deutschland Tour. In the meantime, more Gruppetto next Monday. Until then, we've got quite a bit to get through. Enjoy it. Goodbye.